And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today we're looking at NFL draft prospects that the Washington Commanders might take a chance on the defensive side of the ball. And so let's go ahead and start with an article that you can find on Commanders Wire. This is looking at Daniel Jeremiah's new mock draft, which you can actually find on NFL.com. A link is in this article. And so if you want to check that out for all the teams in the first round. But the player that he has linked to the Washington Commanders is Alabama linebacker Jihaad Campbell. And so this is what he writes about him. Campbell is one of my favorite players in the class. I believe you'll see some teams work him out at the edge rusher this spring. When he's allowed to rush, he flashes elite potential. And so he also talks about the fact that Campbell has the ideal size for a linebacker at 6'3", 244 pounds, talks about the speed, the playmaking ability, and then just really the fit, and talking about what Coach Dan Quinn has done in the past. We know in selecting Micah Parsons, out of Penn State, and just how elite of a pass rusher he was as well. And so, I'm not sure if, Jihaad Campbell is going to get to that status. I mean, that is, a pretty incredible player in Micah Parsons. But I will say this, when you look at his tape, he talks about the speed and the playmaking ability. I think that absolutely his athleticism really does jump off the tape. I think that is really the first thing that you do see with Jihaad Campbell is just the athleticism is there. And I love what is talked about on NFL.com in the sense that, look, a lot of his mistakes, he really erases those with his athleticism. And they talk about the fact that, look, he is a consistent tackler, which is something that you definitely love, especially if you get a running back or a wide receiver in open field. You need to have a defender that is going to be able to make that play, because let's make no mistake about it. If there's not another defender in the area, that might be the difference between a critical third down stop or a critical fourth down stop that you need to get off the field with. And so a great tackler is a great thing, especially if you're in space that way. Love the fact that with his elite athleticism as well, it seems like that they have him as a very fluid blitzer as well. So I do think that is something that I did see off of the tape. It seems like he's natural at just picking up the blitz lane and then getting there to disrupt the quarterback. But I think what I loved most about his tape is his ability to cover. And I think that his ability to really get into passing lanes, make it difficult, I do like that about him, because if they do work him out as an edge rusher, which is suggested here, and he has the tendencies, or he's played a lot of linebacker there, that tells me that maybe he's a bit of a hybrid. He can go back and forth between being that linebacker, and then also you can push him on the edge. So you can probably do a whole bunch of different things defensively with him. So that's a good thing. But make no mistake about it, it seems like that he's very raw, and that is going to be something that I think a lot of the prospects coming out, we talk about this all the time with the weaknesses that they're going to need to work on. According to NFL.com, one of the things that they talk about is that he gets caught on blocks, he will lose contained. And so that's definitely something that the Washington Commanders really struggled with, right, is that we need to not get caught on blocks. We have got to set the edge. And so that is one of the things that he would certainly have to work on. And then another thing, too, they were talking about him getting off of edge blocks and really how he's going to really have to learn how to position himself not to get pinned in there, needs to attack blocks, and then also to kind of get into the gaps better. And so these are things that he would have to work on. It sounds like these are things that are more geared towards stopping the run, which I think that is really, I think, the main need for the Washington Commanders. Don't get me wrong, like, we do want to add to, our passing defense, but I think the first thing that the Washington Commanders are going to have to do is they need to stop the run. And so, I wouldn't mind him at pick 29, but I'm still thinking that if the Washington Commanders go with somebody, I think that they would need to go, with an edge rusher. And one last thing with Campbell, one of his comparisons to is Tremaine Edmonds, so not a bad comp. But the player that I'm thinking that the Washington Commanders could go with, and I really love his tape, the more that I look at it, and I think that he certainly would be available at this position. But I think that you could get, Jack Sawyer. I think that he's a terrific player for the Washington Commanders to get at defensive end out of Ohio State University. I think that he had an excellent championship series when you talk about championship football for Ohio State University. Look, just for his season this year, he had 9 sacks, he had 3 forced fumbles, and he also had an INT as well. And so what I love about Jack Sawyer is that his activity level, his motor, I love that. I think that really makes him hard to really block. I think that with that motor, I think he's going to really be able to chase down a lot of plays. And so he's the type of guy that's never going to give up on plays. One of the things they talk about here on NFL.com is just his ability with his strength to really hold up blocks. Like I think that the way that he kind of has the pro punch to kind of knock you off and then kind of just redirect you and get to his spot. Like I love that about him. That's one of the things that I think is terrific as a pass rusher, really, is being able to hold that block and then you just kind of move him out the way and get him to where you want to, or collapse the pocket the way you want to. And so I do like that about him. And one of the things that they talk about with weaknesses with him is just they talk about his speed. They talk about that it's just the functional speed is not necessarily there. And so the quickness is something that you would want to improve on. But, if he doesn't necessarily have the speed, he has the technique and he has the motor. And there's a lot to like about him. And it seems like that he's a guy that makes big plays. And so I would not necessarily worry about him in the run game for sure. I think he's the one that could definitely clog up a gap and get there. But I also think that, I think he can turn into a very good pass rusher as well. I really do think he could become a very good pass rusher. And one of the players that he's compared to, and this was on Bleacher Report, was Sam Hubbard of the Cincinnati Bengals. And so, look, Sam Hubbard, I know he got injured this year, but he's had a very good career in the NFL. In fact, he went down with an injury this year, but still he had 2 sacks. He had a forced fumble. He had an INT. I just now talked about Jack Sawyer and how he has the ability to really cause the ball to get loose, which is something that you absolutely want on your defense. You want to be able to cause turnovers and just flip the field, because we know that if this offense gets upgrades and it's even better than what it was last season, you talk about the ability to put up points on short fields, and then also, too, we can take it down from a long field as well. Look, it just is going to unlock the Commanders as a whole. So I definitely hope that they would take a look at him at the edge rusher. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you think here. I mean, do you think the Washington Commanders should actually go after a linebacker here in, Jihaad Campbell? Because I think that, yes, it makes sense if you're building for the future. But right now we do have Frankie Louvu. We also have Bobby Wagner, who's probably going to come back for maybe a year or two there. You do have to address that position at some point. But I would just think that you can get better maybe at the edge right now. Maybe you can address the linebacker in free agency. Maybe that's something that you do. Maybe that's the direction that they go. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking. And look, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us here as we try to reach our goal. I'm trying to get to at least 500 subscribers here by the NFL draft, guys. So definitely help me make that happen. And so look, as I always say, go Commanders, and I will see you on the next one. All right, peace.